Screen juice.
Hello screen lovers, and welcome back to Screen Juice. My name's Dave, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This video is the first in a new kind of video I'm going to do from time to time called The Squeeze. Now, in The Squeeze, I'm going to be choosing one very well established piece of entertainment and unpacking it a little bit. So these can be films, series, or perhaps even specific stars, directors, or eventually other things like video games, who knows. The only prerequisite is that these things should be well known and have left their own mark on their respective industries somehow. Now you already know what today's squeeze is going to be about, and yes, we're starting with a big one, the classic, the 1985 adventure comedy, Goonies. So first things first. I'm not going to assume that everybody watching this has seen the movie. Most of us who grew up watching this movie now have our own kids, and it's very likely that they haven't discovered this gem of a film just yet. So for you guys and girls, I'm going to give you a few minutes with no spoilers, so I can tell you exactly why you should go and find this movie and watch it immediately. I will warn you when your spoilers are coming in, okay? So, if you haven't watched it, why should you? Well, The Goonies was made by some of the best filmmakers of all time. It was written by Chris Columbus, directed by Richard Donner, and had Steven Spielberg as the executive producer. So this is like having the Avengers of filmmaking come together. Between them, they've worked on a long list of incredible movies. Just look at it. The film focuses on a group of kids who live in a fictional part of Astoria, Oregon called the Goondocks, as they try to save their homes from being bought up by Astoria Country Club. While looking through the Walsh's attic to find valuable antiques, they stumble across a treasure map, which leads them on an adventure to find the long-lost treasure of One-Eyed Willie, a pirate who supposedly hid his fortune in caves underneath the town and protected it with booby traps. What follows is a rollicking adventure where they seek out the treasure whilst being chased by the believable and yet often hilarious mobsters, the Fratellis. Along the way, they'll learn much about friendship, family, and courage. It's aged incredibly well because these themes are timeless, but it still manages to maintain its 80s charm, a charm that's been replicated in recent years in films or series such as Stranger Things, It Chapter 1, and indeed the soon-to-be-released Wonder Woman 1984. It's also not exclusively a kids' movie. In fact, I remember loving this film as a child, but watching it again recently, I found myself laughing like an idiot at some of the events and inappropriate language that occur in the first 15 minutes. And let me just say that these are not Disney-friendly jokes. Trust me. The quickest and best way that I can describe the movie to someone who hasn't seen it is this. It's a wild ride from start to finish. It's funny as hell and you'll be left smiling at the very end. Do yourself a favour and watch the movie. You won't regret it. Now, with that out of the way, the rest of the information in this video might contain spoilers, so you have been warned. Let's have a look at the world that the movie was born into. In order to tell the story of the Goonies, we have to start at the very beginning. So if you can, cast your mind back to 1985. Mobile phones and the internet are so new that they might as well not exist. Ronald Reagan is in his second term as US president. Margaret Thatcher is busy making most people in the UK hate her, and the world comes together to create what might be the biggest live music event of all time, Live Aid, and that's just to raise funds for charity. The charts would see huge hits from a-ha, Dire Straits, Phil Collins, Tears for Fears, Whitney Houston and Madonna, and that same year would see the release of timeless classics such as The Breakfast Club, A View to a Kill, Back to the Future, Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, Weird Science, Teen Wolf, Rocky IV. And in the middle of all this, a teaser trailer was dropped.
Two men who put excitement into movies are bringing you a new motion picture, and adventure is getting a new name. as Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film. Take the oath. Join the adventure.
Seeing that just gives me goosebumps. Something about it gives me the sense of watching VHS movies when I was younger. We used to watch those things over and over again until the tape would start distorting. We didn't have hundreds of channels and streaming services. You would really appreciate a good VHS tape. Sometime later, they would drop the full-length trailer. And honestly, looking at it now, they really give a lot of the movie away and in only 2.5 minutes. Also, considering that the brilliant Fratelli chase theme has been used in so many other trailers over the years, it's a shame that it's not used here. You know the one. You know, this one. Anyway, here's the original trailer for your viewing pleasure.
Wait a minute!
Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film.
Hey, my found the map! Whoa, do you guys realize what we could do? I don't want to go on any more of your crazy Goonie adventures.
Meet Mikey,
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Brand, Andy,
Shame. Come on, Brad. Slip her the tongue. That's disgusting. No, I can't even look.
Mouth,
I gotcha. Now get out from behind her. You're ruining the painting. You're ruining my joke.
Stephanie, Data,
Goonie Bango! Oh, guys, isn't that neat?
and Chunk.
It's locked. Thanks, Chunk.
They call themselves The Goonies. They've stumbled onto a legend, but they're not alone.
Chunk, I hope that was your stomach. No. That's the it. Sounds like Kong.
Discover what they uncover.
Rubies and emeralds and diamonds.
The lost map.
Oh, this started the tunnel.
The secret caves.
Hey, Mikey! You can hear me! Run! Run! They're coming after you!
The hidden clues.
Mikey!
The treacherous traps.
Hello, Sheriff. I'm at the Lighthouse Lounge, and I want to report a murder.
Just like that last prank about all those little creatures that multiply when you throw water on them.
Take the oath.
They're here! Somebody's coming!
Join the adventure. As Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film.
Production for The Goonies started on October 22nd, 1984 and was filmed mostly on location and in sequence, lasting around 5 months. There are so many stories and pieces of trivia to share, so I'm just going to give you some of my favourites. Are you ready? Here we go. The film was released in cinemas in the US in June of 1985 and was competing with films like Fletch, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Cocoon and Return to Oz. It would take until November to reach the UK, but I was born as Freddy was doing this. So I wouldn't personally see it for a few years. It received middling reviews, usually around the 3 out of 5 stars range or something equivalent. The great Roger Ebert called the film a smooth mixture of the usual ingredients from Steven Spielberg action movies, but he praised the high-energy performances. The Chicago Tribune described it as a funny, juvenile, wind-up toy about kids in perilous comic book situations. And finally, the New York Times wrote that the film has a kind of breakneck pacing that keeps it fast, funny, ingenious, entertaining, and almost entirely without staying power. Well, for a film without staying power, at almost 35 years old, it has an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes of 91% and an army of committed fans, not to mention its own Lego set. The city of Astoria has hosted anniversary events for the film that draw up to 15,000 visitors, and the house used as the Walsh's home in the movie was drawing over 1,000 people a day during the summer of the film's 30th anniversary. Before you start planning your trip, though, it's worth knowing that this influx of people has unsurprisingly caused the current residents to limit access to the public. I mean, could you imagine having to close the windows just so you wouldn't hear people screaming every few minutes? There can be no doubt that The Goonies is a certified classic, literally certified. It was entered into the National Film Registry in 2017 for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. References to the film can be found all over popular culture, and its style has been imitated time and time again. However, the magic has never been replicated. Nobody's ever been able to capture the Goonie lightning and bottle it. I'm sure plenty of people have tried to explain why this is, but for me, I think it's a perfect storm of factors. For one, the film doesn't patronise young people by trying to keep everything squeaky clean. The performances are full of energy, and the relationships between the performers are real and last to this day. Josh Gad's online show, Reunited Apart, brought them together in April of this year, and the chemistry between them lives on to this day. But there is something else. It was a different time, a time when we didn't have access to more entertainment than we could possibly swallow. We also couldn't discuss the film online or in group messages. When this came out, people came together to talk about it, or to gather around a TV with a pizza and snacks and create more memories of their own. It is pure nostalgia in a way that might never be experienced again, especially now that we live in a world where anything can be brought back up on the internet in an instant. So now comes the big question. Should there be a sequel? Well, if you ask the cast and filmmakers, they seem to say yes. Scripts and concepts appear to have been thrown around over the years, but nothing seems to have stuck. I've also seen many say that the Goonies should never be rebooted, and I have to admit that I felt that way too. In fact, this video was originally going to be called Please Don't Reboot the Goonies. But when you really think about it, it's not quite fair. Stories are always retold and given fresh perspective. You might not like them personally, but we've had our Goonies. Our kids should get to have theirs. Although I have to add, if you're going to make another Goonies movie, it should be a prequel, and here is why.
What's all that Spanish junk right there?
Who knows? Mouth, you said you could translate. Translate, right here. Yeah, translate it.
Ye intruders beware, crushing death and grief, soaked with blood of the trespassing thief.
You guys, this map is old news. Everybody and their grandfather went looking for that when our parents were our age. I mean...
There, right there is your story. The story of the original Goonies when they went looking for the gold. They may not have found One-Eyed Willie's treasure, but who knows what else they found. Hell, Mama Fratelli would have been a young woman back then. She'd make quite a villain. Anyway, one thing is certain. The Goonies won't be going away anytime soon because Goonies never say die. But what do you think? Should there be another Goonies movie? How could it be done? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I'll provide some links in the description so that you can continue to discover more about this great film. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. My name's Dave, this has been Screen Juice, and the squeeze Thanks for watching.